You can hire a private chef to dial in your macros, an elite trainer to track your explosive output, and still receive the exact same medical advice as someone who hasn't exercised in a decade. The traditional healthcare system operates in what we call the vacuum. In this space, health is defined exclusively as the absence of a diagnosable disease. If you aren't actively dying, you are considered healthy. Peak optimization does not exist here. When your goal is pushing the physical and mental limits of human longevity, a system designed only to maintain a baseline fails your specific objectives. This creates the optimization divide. On one side, the standard model maintains a tolerable baseline of survival. On the other, the proactive approach seeks to maximize every available biological metric. Relying strictly on that standard baseline costs you. We are talking about leaving years of potential lifespan and daily measurable cognitive and physical output completely on the table. You and your primary care physician are playing a high-stakes game together, but you are keeping entirely different scorecards. You want to win the race. They just want you to not crash the car. Because your doctor's objective is disease mitigation, you are actively locked out of the bleeding-edge science that drives peak human optimization. To understand why, look at the timeline required to create a practicing physician. From day one of medical school to their first solo patient, it is an arduous, multi-year endurance test. Throughout that test, medical school curricula are inextricably bound to national board exams. Those exams are controlled by massive bureaucracies that operate on glacial update cycles. A discovery occurs in a lab. It takes years of peer review to reach a textbook, and several more years to hit the board exam. The clock keeps ticking. Clinical residency training adds another multi-year delay before a doctor is legally permitted to prescribe independently. You might assume doctors catch up by reading the latest research journals, but massive patient loads and administrative exhaustion make synthesizing dense, daily academic papers practically impossible on the clinical floor. The math is inescapable. By the time a newly minted doctor opens the doors to their private practice, their foundational scientific knowledge is already a decade out of date. Now step onto the clinical floor. Even if your doctor is reading night and day and understands the newest molecular interventions perfectly, the legal system forces them to ignore the data. Healthcare operates on the standard of care. This is a rigid legal framework designed to shield medical institutions from liability. This logic tree maps the legal reality. Prescribe an accepted protocol, and if the patient fails to improve, the physician faces zero liability. Look at the bottom branch. Apply a cutting-edge protocol, and one unexpected side effect brings devastating lawsuits and a revoked license. This dynamic enforces defensive medicine. It legally binds doctors, forcing them to wait until a patient's biomarkers cross the threshold into full-blown, treatable disease before they intervene. The system enforces the stagnation as a structural requirement, persisting regardless of the individual expertise or motivation of the physician. Standard medicine remains a necessary safety net. In a car crash or sudden heart attack, there is nowhere else you want to be. But a safety net is designed to catch a fall. It lacks the mechanisms to launch you toward your peak physical potential. Recognizing the reality of that 10-year scientific lag is the mandatory first step to taking absolute control over your own biology. This knowledge is for individuals who treat their health as a proactive investment in high performance, rather than a frantic defensive reaction to illness. To bridge the gap, you have to seek out science-forward, concierge medical models. These practices operate strictly outside traditional insurance systems and the restrictive liability constraints of massive hospital networks. True health optimization requires stepping entirely outside the traditional matrix. You have to stop playing by the rules of survival if you want to actually thrive.